Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all staying safe, and I hope you can see the screen and hear us loud and clear. I'm Jana Ayoub, and I would like to thank you all for attending today's webinar, Is This Real? EXIM ByDesign Package. I would like to make a few announcements. First, kindly note that this session is being recorded and will be published on our YouTube channel. Second, the Q&A mode has been enabled, and you should be able to see a question icon on the bottom right corner when you drag the side menu bar. Feel free to press the icon and type any question during the session, and we will answer them at the very end. And now we will share a quick survey on your screen, just for us to know you a little bit better. First, we will be talking about who we are, followed by our EXIM ByDesign Package solution presentation with SAP Business ByDesign as the base solution, including Inflexion BIIN Add On, which will be led by our Pre-Sales and Projects Director, Mr. Ajay Prasad. Then we will be showcasing the solution in action, which will be covered by our lead SAP BYD consultant, Mr. Muhammad Dia Al-Haq. Finally, we will have a Q&A session to answer all your questions. We're sure that today's session will help your wholesale distribution business become more agile, resilient, transparent, and future-proof, scaling to new heights with better collaboration across your departments. Before we dive into the presentation, I wanted to quickly share with you about Inflexion. We are a certified gold partner for the MENA region with offices in UAE, Lebanon, Oman, and an offshore development center in India. We are in business for more than 14 years and have helped successfully deliver more than 200 projects. We were able to provide quality service to our growing 3,500 SAP licensed users through our family of about 100 plus experts, of which 97% are SAP certified with combined 900 years of SAP solution expertise. Our deep-rooted SAP relationship, being a value-added reseller and build partners with PCOE and recognized expertise of solutions and industry vertical, provides us with the ability to deliver focused SAP solutions covering small, medium, and large enterprises, like the ERP solutions RISE at SAP, SAP S/4HANA, SAP Business ByDesign, SAP Business One, and SAP Customer Checkout for point of sales. While we also have SAP SuccessFactors, SAP Ariba, and SAP Customer Experience for the line of business. And finally, SAP Analytics and SAP Business Technology Platform, we help you become an intelligent enterprise. SAP PCOE certification is awarded post-SAP audit, which ensures we have the process, infrastructure, certified people, and SLA to deliver quality support consistently post-implementation. Our SAP recognized expertise in SAP Business One, SAP Business ByDesign, and SAP Consumer Products highlights our commitment to customers. This designation recognizes the expertise and competencies to distinguish our capabilities from competitors in the market. The requirements include having trained and certified individuals in a focus area or industry and a track record of customer success and satisfaction. Our SAP certified and highly experienced team of consultants not only provide implementation and rollout services, but can also migrate and upgrade your existing solution. Our SAP PCOE certification ensures high quality of support, maintenance, and service levels, while our build partnership allows us to develop specific customization and adaptation for your business requirements. We can help you extend and integrate with SAP or third-party systems as well. With all these, we serve as your single window provider for a digital transformation journey. That's about Inflexion and its expertise in a snap. And now let me hand over to our Pre-Sales and Projects Director, Mr. Ajay Prasad, without further ado.
Thank you, Jana, for the introduction, and welcome to one and all who have joined us today for this webinar. My name is Ajay Prasad. I'm the Director for Pre-Sales and Projects at Inflexion, And my role today would be to take you through the presentation of EXIM ByDesign Package, as well as work with you on the demo that my colleague Zia would be presenting later today. So we are today focused on majority of the time on the trading business, which is basically for the wholesale distribution organizations. And these are some of the key challenges or business issues that are faced by all of our wholesale distributors around the world. So increasing the revenue is one of the key aspects. Reducing operating expenses and the cost of goods sold is the other aspect that we are continuously looking at. Managing global growth and also tracking finance related to international trade is some of the challenges that we see in today's world. And let's see how SAP Business by Design as well as our BIIN package can help you in addressing these issues. So firstly, let's start with SAP Business by Design. SAP Business by Design is a software as a service cloud-based ERP solution which is available from SAP. It is based completely on a cloud environment which is hosted and managed by SAP themselves, which are available across all the multiple data centers across the globe. SAP Business by Design consists of multiple modules, including financials, supplier management, project management, supply chain management, CRM, and human resource modules as well. All of these are encompassed with built-in analytics, as well as we can extend the solution as we have done in order to meet customer-specific requirements or industry requirements in general. As you can see from the screenshots that are available, SAP Business by Design is portable across multiple devices. It has got a responsive UI which can be used on tablets or on PCs or on laptops as well. And you get to use the full functionality of the solution and product across across various platforms anytime, anywhere, along with built-in mobile apps that can be downloaded from the respective iOS or Android stores as well, in order to be able to use them on your mobile devices. So SAP Business by Design, as mentioned, is a full cloud ERP suite which is available. And some of the modules that we have in SAP Business by Design, starting with financials, covers all the core financial activities that an organization needs to perform, along with cash and liquidity management as well. And we also facilitate two books of accounts for each organization in order to have parallel general ledger posting as well, which enables us to be able to deliver consolidation at a global level. Customer relationship management is the next module that we're going to talk about, which covers marketing, sales, and service. So it covers all the three sub modules of CRM. From a marketing perspective, you can run campaigns, you can track the success of the campaigns, as well as be able to generate leads and manage those leads. There is extensive reporting capability in order to be able to analyze your return of investment from a marketing perspective, and it can also be used for offline marketing activities as well. Followed up with pre-sales activities where you can log a lead, you can then manage an opportunity, create multiple sales quotations, and take the business to a sales order stage in order to win the project as well. Finally, we have the service aspect of it. The service aspect is helpful in post-sales organizations, including warranty management as well as field service management, which is available from Business by Design. Project management is the other key module that Business by Design has, where you can manage projects internally as well as for your customers of any size. You can easily manage resources as well as the materials that are required for the project within the project. And it also has extensive project accounting functionality, including revenue recognition. Supplier relationship management is the next module, where we're talking about how you can organize and source your material as well as manage contracting of your procurement process. It also includes an interactive RFP processing capabilities as well, where you can publish the RFPs online and get the quotations from suppliers and then do the matching as well. And you can also help with ranking and supplier management as well in the system. The employee self-service is a powerful tool which can be used for consumable purchase and can be also integrated with external e-commerce catalogs which are available and which have been subscribed by your organization. Supply chain management module is extensive in terms of being able to help you with manufacturing process. It has the production planning and production management module along with quality assurance module, and it also comes with product lifecycle management as well. Finally, we get into the human resource management. In human resource management, we can manage human resources in terms of the organization structure, as well as the personal administration of a personnel can also be managed within the human resource management module, along with the administration of their shifts and time and attendance as well can be captured within the system. From an employee self-service perspective, there are extensive functionality like leave applications as well as expense management application and tracking, which can also be performed by the employees. Some of these features and functionalities are also extended onto the mobile platform in order for you to be able to use the mobile apps as well. SAP Business ByDesign has three main pillars or principles on as we see. It's easy to use because of its modern intuitive interface. All the process, all the modules as well as the steps and tasks that you would perform would have a similar window and look and feel. That gives you consistency across the application, and it's also accessible anytime, anywhere through mobile apps as well. It is very insightful because of the fact that it runs on the SAP HANA database, which is an in-memory database, which combines both transactional as well as analytical data. And there are data sources that are developed and produced by SAP which can be accessed. It comes in with built-in 600 plus reports at any given point of time, and also multiple KPIs are as well available, which can further be analyzed and then broken down within the system itself. Users have the ability to create new KPIs as well as design new reports by themselves. And finally, we have Microsoft Excel integration, which gives you a plugin from Business ByDesign in order to be able to analyze your data on a real-time basis using Microsoft Excel and its capabilities. From an openness perspective, SAP Business ByDesign is an open solution in terms of being able to expose its APIs in the form of OData or web services. You can choose to use any one of these modes in order to interact with the system, in order to get data or push data into SAP Business ByDesign, thereby facilitating integration across platforms, solutions, as well as devices. Being a cloud-based product, there is continuous innovation that is delivered by SAP in terms of quarterly updates that are happening to the system, where new features, functionalities are introduced, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, predictive analytical capabilities, which are some of the few which are on the roadmap as far as SAP is concerned. The product already has certain capabilities as far as machine learning is concerned, and we shall be demonstrating those as well during the demo today. Apart from that, there is predictive analytical capabilities that SAP hopes to bring within the solution in the upcoming releases, along with new feature functionality in terms of all the all the modules that are already available in the product. From a flexibility perspective, the platform is very flexible. When we talk about flexibility, we are talking about geographical flexibility. You can have an organization and which can expand and grow into multiple geographies in terms of countries or in terms of branches within a country itself. You can do transactions in multiple currencies. You can have multiple organizational structure in terms of multiple warehouses, multiple manufacturing units within or across countries, as well as from a user perspective, it starts with minimum 5 users and extends up to 10,000 users as well. So the platform is very flexible and can grow as your business grows. And also from a implementation perspective, it supports multiple lines of businesses in your organization. So you could have one business which is purely into trading, and you could have another business which is purely into services, and a third one which is purely into manufacturing, and the system would still be able to support all of these out of the box from one single instance. We have analytics, which we spoke about in quite a bit in the previous slides. Again, SAP Business ByDesign comes with standard KPIs as mentioned. It also has detailed report cards as well. And it also gives you reports and analysis patterns that you can also use. We would showcase some of these features during our presentation today or the demo of the solution itself. Apart from that, SAP also exposes multiple data sources by default, with which we can create custom reports. And we also have the ability to expose data sources if required in order to build other additional reports and KPIs as well. As an extension to SAP Business ByDesign, SAP Analytics Cloud is an additional solution, which is a software as a service again, which extends SAP Business ByDesign analytical capabilities to give you visualization as well as storyboards that you can create and which can be personalized to your requirements. It also comes with extensive planning and predictive capabilities in terms of augmented analytics that you can perform with SAP Analytics Cloud, and it also has machine learning simulation capabilities built into it. All this while having live connection to the SAP Business ByDesign database and without the need for loading, extracting, or transforming data into your data warehousing capabilities. All of these can be truly done on a real time and online basis without additional IT resources or support that is required. So Business ByDesign, as mentioned earlier, has mobile apps that you can download from the App Store of the respective OSs. You could have these applications which allow you to do work on the go in terms of probably approvals, in terms of expense reporting, in terms of time recording, looking at the overall health of a project, or even look at customer balances at real time basis, inventory balances as well on a real time basis, can all be performed using these mobile apps. These are native apps that are included as part of the license, which you can download with Business ByDesign and be able to use them as well. You can further see that you can open the complete application on a browser within a tablet or within a desktop itself. And this gives you the flexibility of using the complete solution on the go by default. Again, these are at no additional cost, and all of this is already included within the package itself. Moving on to Inflexion BIIN, which is our banking instruments module created specifically for letter of credit, is a strong built-in solution with SAP Business ByDesign, which extends the international trade functionality. As you can see, it has analytical reporting capabilities. We also provide approval workflow functionality within the letter of credit module or BIIN module. We do have document checklist in order for you to be able to facilitate the documents that need to be uploaded and stored at the time of processing a letter of credit. All financial postings are done by default within the system, so there is no additional financial posting or accounting activity that needs to be done, as we will be able to showcase in our demo today. Along with that, you can also do tracking of your transactions at the bank level, where you can maintain individual LC accounts and you can transfer funds in and out of these accounts based on the requirement as well. We also maintain a change record in terms of audit trail, so you can then understand what is changed, when it was changed, and by who it was changed as well. And finally, notes and attachments at every transaction level allows you to be able to scan documents and store documents or create links of various references that you need and make notes as well that can be stored in the application. Further, the letter of credit module is divided into two subcomponents. One is for import, which is essentially linked to suppliers, and purchase orders, which can be multiple purchase orders can be linked to a single LC, or you can track the purchase orders and its statuses as well, along with the LC status. Apart from that, the payment tracking between the bank and the supplier as well can be managed and monitored using the various reports and transactions. Similarly, when you're doing an export and you're collecting an LC on behalf from the customer, you can also link it to sales orders. You can track the status of the sales orders, and you can also ensure that payment is being collected against these LCs. So this is an additional module that has been certified by SAP and would be shortly available on the SAP App Store. And this is part of the package that we are offering, and the EXIM package. So what does the EXIM package consist of? It's a package which basically is an OPEX model of the solution offering, which includes the services as well as the licenses that is required for your business to be able to run SAP Business by Design and the BIIN solution. So the modules that we cover is finance. Core finance is included as part of the solution offering. Marketing and sales is from the front end perspective. Purchase and warehouse from the back end perspective, and the letter of credit module is also covered as part of the package. As you probably are aware, SAP Business by Design is a process driven solution. So we cover the end to end process scenarios which are required for to meet your business processes within this package. And from a professional services perspective, from our end, we do the solution design and configuration. We also undertake the master data migration during this process, during this project. We undertake the training of users, and also ensuring the cutover data are uploaded with open balances and open amounts and open items. And finally, we help you with the go live of the solution itself in your organization. So the question, is it real? Yes, it is very much real. We are able to offer you a complete OPEX model at an average monthly price of $2,800 per user, which includes essentially the license subscription, the subscription of the BIIN license, as well as the professional services that come along with it. So what is included in the scope of work is, for one legal entity, the configuration and the training and the master data uploads. It also includes 5 print forms that we are going to adapt for you. Further, we have 1 month of hypercare support as well bundled within this package, and also these are based on the best practices of SAP that the implementation would be done. The project is likely to take about 14 weeks, and we would be using the SAP launch methodology in order to deliver this particular solution. Please note that the price varies from a minimum of 5 users to 30 users. And again, we can customize the package based on your needs and requirements when we get into a one-to-one session with you as well. So these are again indicative prices which allow you to be able to take a realistic and holistic approach to the solution. Further, the process flow which is described below is also covered as part of the scope of work. So you can see it starts with a sales order, getting into the requirement planning in terms of the demand planning, and then moving it into a purchase requisition, and the whole procure to pay cycle as well as the order to cash cycles are covered in this particular aspect. And you can see the various points at which the letter of credit or the BIN module is involved as part of the whole package. I would like to thank you for your attention, and probably request Zia to share his screen in order for us to walk you through the product itself and demonstrate the solution. Now that we are able to see the screen of Zia, in today's demo, we would be using the single login to be able to do the complete functionality of the procure to pay cycle, including how the banking instrument module works, the BIN module works. But nevertheless, we always have the approval processes that can be enabled as part of the package, along with multiple users which would be able to play multiple roles. So in order to be able to give you a smooth demo, we'll be using a single login to do all of this functionality. And as soon as we log in, the first thing that you would notice is that we have a dashboard, and you can notice on the dashboard that we have a tab which is created for us in terms of procure to pay service. And in the procure to pay, you can notice that we have actually added a couple of APIs pertaining to BIIN module. So you can see pending LC amount. You can also see the pending, the total LC amount, as well as the AR overdue amounts as well. And then the steps that we would ideally take in order to complete a procure to pay process. So we will come back to the KPIs at a later date, at a later time of the demo today. So the first step is essentially to start with a purchase requisition. So Zia has been kind enough to create a purchase requisition already in order to procure a particular product. So you will notice that there is a purchase requisition for assembled cylinders, which is essentially created. And we are looking at requesting 20 quantities at a price of net value of about 10,000 dirhams. So let's start and begin the process of procurement with the new purchase order. So the first thing that you would notice is, since the purchase requisition is already linked to a supplier, all the details are pre-populated on the screen. And you will notice that the payment terms now has LC, which wouldn't be the case if you did not have the BIN solution implemented in this particular instance. So we have different payment terms. Here you can notice we have created 60 days and 90 days as the payment terms of, and that too based on an LC. So we will select 60 days for the purpose of this demo. And now that we have we have reviewed the purchase order, we can go ahead and release this particular purchase order to the supplier. Now that we have released the purchase order, which is 1162 to the supplier, we will go ahead with the next step of the process. You can notice that the purchase order has been released to the supplier but has not been acknowledged as yet. So we'll go ahead and do a quick acknowledgement of the purchase order, since the supplier has confirmed that they would be able to deliver what we are requesting for. So in the new acknowledgement screen, we go ahead and put in a supplier sales order as our external reference number, and we verify all the quantities and everything, which seems to be in line with what the supplier has confirmed. And we go ahead and we save this acknowledgement in order to acknowledge the purchase order. Now that the purchase order has been acknowledged, you can see the change in status, which has moved from not yet acknowledged to acknowledged. So now that the purchase order has been acknowledged, we shall go ahead and we will create now LC for the supplier. We can see a list of the letter of credits that have been already issued. Now we'll go ahead and create a new LC. Here we will select the company with which we are dealing from our side, and then the supplier as well. Once we have selected the supplier, what would happen is the system would then shortlist the bank IDs, and this is our bank IDs, which is from which we are issuing the LC. And you can notice that we have two bank IDs. One is the primary ID and the second one is the LC account. So we will select the LC account, and we'll go ahead now and select the supplier bank account as well, the corresponding supplier bank account. Here is where we are linking the purchase order to the LC. So this is the purchase order that was previously released. We have now selected it, and you can see that it was created. You can also see the value. And once the LC has been linked, the purchase order has been linked to the LC, we can go ahead and do a couple of other things along with this LC. So we now go to the documents required tab. Here we add all the documents that are required for this particular LC to be submitted to the bank. So here we select the certificate of origin and mention the number of copies that are required. And then we can go ahead and we can create the attachment as well, if in case we need to, for the certificate of the origin. So we have the attachment creation ability, and as mentioned, we can also add some notes if we want to add some notes as well. In this particular case, we'll go ahead and now save this particular aspect. We will save the request for the LC to be created. Now you can notice in the status it says the LC is under preparation. We will now submit it for approval. So the accounting clerk essentially creates an LC and then it goes for submission. So his superior will be able to approve this particular LC. So you can see that now the status is in approval. And you can also notice a notification has been sent to the vendor, to the requester as well in the collaboration window. And now we go ahead and we will approve the LC. So from my inbox, I can see that the approval has come for the LC. I review it. I have the option of sending it back for revision or approving the LC as well. So let me go ahead and approve the LC for the moment. So you can again see the notification at the bottom which says that the approval has been done. So we can now proceed with the next step of issuing this to the bank. So we go back again to our BIIN module. You can see that the letter has been approved, or the letter of credit has been approved by our internal processor. So we shall now go and submit to the bank with the required documents. And when we are submitting to the bank, we put in the application number of the bank, because this submission is going to happen offline. But if in case the bank is able to accept an online LC request, we will be able to integrate with the bank as well. Zia is quickly filling in the details which is required for the LC to be submitted. Now that the submission has happened, we can go ahead and we can acknowledge saying the bank has approved our LC. Or if it has rejected it, then we can also maintain the status as rejected. But for our demo today, we will go ahead and we'll acknowledge saying that the bank has acknowledged the LC. So now that the bank has approved the LC, you will notice that the LC number is populated for the letter of credit, and then we can now proceed with the next step. So this letter of credit is now sent to the supplier. So the supplier now has his letter of credit and he prepares a shipment for delivery. So the next step would be for us to accept the delivery in the form of a goods receipt, for which we will go to the purchase order as the base reference document. And we will now select the document, the purchase order, and receive the new goods. So we put in the reference number of the delivery note. And as you can see that all the data is pre-populated. If we want to take a partial delivery, we can do so. In our case, we are going to go ahead and take a complete delivery, saying because the supplier has supplied us in full. So we'll go ahead and post this goods receipt and create a liability towards, we update the stock status of having received the goods. Yes. And now is where we go ahead and we create the invoice from the supplier. So in order for us to be able to create the invoice from the supplier, we would like to show you how this is done through the artificial intelligence and the robotic process automation that SAP Business ByDesign offers to you, which again is part of the solution without having to have, without needing to buy additional license. So let's assume that the supplier has sent us his invoice in the form of a PDF. He's emailed it to us. So this is the supplier's invoice. We're just showing you the review of this particular invoice. You can see all the details are mentioned here. So in order to create an account payable invoice, what we can do is we can then save this particular PDF onto our desktop, and then there is a specific folder which is the scanned invoice folder. So we drop the invoice into the scanned invoice folder. So on doing so, what SAP Business ByDesign does is that it takes the invoice and processes it into multiple folders. So either we have an upload success folder or an upload error folder and one to retry as well. So you can notice that we have the upload success folder. And if we go and look into the folder, which is created by date, you will find that our invoice has now been added into the successfully uploaded folder. Right. So now that the invoice has been added into our folder successfully, this is something that you don't need to monitor, but it's just for the purpose of the demo that we're showing you how the whole process flows. I will now go in as an accounts payable clerk into the invoice scanning option, where you can notice that the scanning is currently in process. So Business ByDesign is basically using the artificial intelligence or the machine learning capabilities of document extraction, and it is extracting the document contents from it being scanned in the background. So we just give it a couple of seconds for it to be able to process the invoice. And you can do so by putting in large volumes of invoices in this particular folder. And SAP Business ByDesign will be able to process this in the background and be able to enter all these invoices in the system. Now you can see the scanning has been completed while we were waiting for it. And then we can go ahead and review this particular invoice. So when we review this particular invoice as an accounts payable clerk, I would like to validate that all the information has been scanned and uploaded correctly in the form. So you can notice that it has identified the supplier. It has also put boxes across values. So in this particular new version that has been released, in the most recent release, we can also map these fields if in case the mapping has not happened correctly. So you notice that the date of the invoice has been correctly mapped to the invoice date on the left hand side of the screen. Similarly, we have the invoice number which has been mapped to the external document ID. But if in case it has not mapped, then we can always click on it and then do the remapping of the field by selecting the header fields and then applying the value to those particular fields. In our case, you will notice that everything has been identified correctly and the invoice is ready to be posted. Once the verification is done, the system also attaches this invoice to the transaction by default. So it also keeps an electronic soft copy of the invoice again in the system by default as well. So we go ahead and we create the invoice now. Now that the invoice has been created, so now that the invoice has been posted, I can request Zia to show us the document flow. So now this is another feature of SAP Business ByDesign where you will be able to track and process flow of the complete flow that we have done. So you can see that it has started with the shopping cart, moving into the purchase requisition, then further into the purchase order. We can also look at the printout of the purchase order if we want to. You can see the icon which is there. It shows the soft copy of the purchase order that was released. Now in our package, as part of our package, we also allow for these print forms to be adapted, 5 of them by default. So we can then customize this to your requirements. Going back to the flow again, you will notice we can also see the financial entries that are made. So we can actually go and expand on the goods and service, and you can also notice that there will be a journal entry that was posted as well that can be seen. Right. So now that we have seen the process flow, let's go back again to our LC process in order to complete the LC process, because now that the invoice has been generated in the system, we can now go and make a new bank payment advice. We can request for a new bank payment advice. We select the supplier again. So you can see that again the letter of credit type pops up here. So we select import letter of credit. Fields are again populated based on report letter of credit. So we select the letter of credit ID. You can notice that the approved amount was for 10,000. The pending supplier payments is for 10,000, and the pending LC amount is for 10,000. So you can notice that the payment has not been released, which is what we are going to now do by paying the bank in order for them to be able to release the payment. Now that the bank-to-bank transfer has been done,
Supplier payment.
now we can go ahead and do the supplier payment. Again, we select the letter of credit ID. We select the two bank account, and then we select our bank account from which the letter of credit ID has to move. We go ahead and we post this particular transaction, thereby completing the process of issuing the payment to the supplier. So as you can notice that we have the complete end-to-end cycle, which allows you to be able to manage your international trade. The same is also true for the order to cash process as well, including the LC module, which is for the export LC part of it. So let's go and have a look at how the KPIs and the dashboards and reporting of the solution is. So let's go back to the home launchpad. You will notice that we have the LC module, and now let's refresh the values, and you will notice that the values have been refreshed due to the transaction that was just posted. So let's go ahead and explore further on this particular KPI. Now this particular KPI and other KPIs that the system has have the same functionality, and you can notice that we have created this KPI with various thresholds. Again, these thresholds can be configured based on your requirements and your organization's requirements as well. We can further analyze this data. We can look at this data in a tabular format also, or we can even analyze it on the graphical format. Now let's try and analyze this data further. So when I click on analyze data, you will see that it is for a particular company. We can see all the letter of credit. We can see the total pending amounts, the paid amounts, as well as the total amount that is due. We can go into view, and then we can add suppliers to this mix as well. So let's go ahead and see how the suppliers are being paid and which LCs are for which supplier. So I select the supplier name, and I can also select the purchase order ID as well in order to be able to map the supplier and the purchase orders and be able to do an analysis. So now you will notice that we have added the additional fields for the purchase order as well as supplier name. But I would like to see this particular report from a supplier name perspective. So I need to select, and I drag and drop this on top. And you will see that now the report is being shown through the view of the supplier. So I can see for each supplier, let's say for example in Omega, I can notice that we have multiple LCs which are open and which are linked to multiple purchase orders. And again in IMG Limited, I have an LC which is 1009, and that is linked to two purchase orders. So similarly, I can track what is happening here. We can also change this into a graphical view in order to be able to see this in a graphical format as well. And we can also see it in a graphical as well as tabular format as both views. Now these views can be saved and personalized for each and every individual. and further analysis as well can be done. We can also navigate from here to the supplier as well as to the purchase orders if required by clicking on the supplier name and then being able to navigate from here itself. So we can drill down to the smallest granular level and be able to analyze it. We also have other reports that can be created based on the requirements. And as part of the package, we pre-deliver import and export KPIs as well as reports as part of the package itself when it comes to the EXIM package. So that brings us to the end of our demo today. And we would like to again showcase a survey that would help us understand how much of this particular demo was useful for you.
You should be able to see the survey on your screens now. We would appreciate if you could participate in this survey as well. Please note that the Q&A mode is open. Please feel free to type in any question you might have. Just click on the question icon on the bottom right corner on your screen, and we will answer them in the Q&A section after this survey.
The survey is completely anonymous and it helps us engage with you as viewers. So we request you to participate actively in the survey.
Thank you. And moving on to the Q&A session.
So we have a question from Mr. Mohammed. Is HR module of design in success factors or both are independent? So Mr. Mohammed, we do have a HR module in SAP Business by Design. As mentioned, it has the core HR functionality with self-service options, but it can also be integrated with success factors for further modules that are not available as part of core HR. And if you're looking at greater flexibility, both of these solutions can be integrated as well for your organization. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Any further questions? We encourage your questions. We are happy to answer them for you. It could be with regards to the package, it could be with regards to the solution offering itself. We have somebody typing their question as we are waiting. So we have a question from Mr. Khalid. After the contract expires, what will be the renewal method, and will the fees be the same as the initial pricing? So the contract period, as mentioned, is for a minimum period of 3 years. The renewal would be automatic unless and until you do not want to renew it. And the fees would be almost the same as the initial pricing. It's subject to the consumer price index. You might see a variation of plus or minus 3%. Thank you, Mr. Khalid. We do have 3 minutes more before our session ends for today. Please do feel free to ask us any questions that you have. We see an upcoming question. Will the program perform? So we have a question from Mr. Ahmed, which says, will the program perform smoothly with a very large database? Definitely yes. The program will do perform smoothly. We have large volumes of data which the customers are currently using as well. We do have a customer who has close to around 40,000 SKUs, and on an average, they have about 100 plus line items in each purchase order, and they are very happy with the solution and its performance. Great, Mr. Ahmed. And to add to it, the solution is built on the SAP HANA database. So the SAP HANA database is the enterprise version of the database that SAP uses in all its products. It's an in-memory database which basically has a faster processing time simply because it's in the memory, as well as it has multiple other functionality which provide speed and accuracy as well. Do we have any more questions? We would be happy to answer those questions for you. So we have a question from Riham. It says, how flexible is the product in rolling back wrong entries, and does it take the same workflow? Well, rolling back of wrong entries is something which can be done based on the transaction. So if it's a financial entry that cannot be rolled back due to the IFRS standards and the international accounting standards, you can only do a you can only do a, you can pass a cancellation entry. So the entries can be cancelled. So let's say if you've done a purchase order and a purchase order needs to be amended, that is possible. Once an invoice is created, it has to be cancelled and recreated again so that the system keeps track of it based on the international standard. And yes, workflows can be also triggered for cancellation and reprocessing in order to be able to gain more control over the solution. Thank you, Ms. Rihan. So, any further questions? We have a couple of more minutes before we end today's session. Thank you all for your participation. We really appreciate you having spent time with us today on this webinar. I see a question coming through. Thank you so much for all your time and effort, and have a great day and stay safe, everybody.